The Wellesley Running Club meets weekly in Linden Square for a run each week, every Friday at 8 a.m. I was fortunate enough to meet and speak with them on a beautiful summer morning in July, and they were a lovely group of people who were hoping to inspire others to run with them, the same way that Carol Chowie, aka Wellesley's Wonder Woman, inspired them. I hope you enjoy what they had to say.
So I joined this group about 9 years ago, and I joined it because I was reading the Townsman, and there was an article about this woman, Carol, who I didn't know. And she had started this group called Couch to 5K. And at the time, she was battling 2 kinds of stage 4 cancer, and she was still running marathons. And I was not a runner, and I thought, oh my God, if this woman can run marathons with 2 kinds of stage 4 cancer, I can get myself to run a 5K. And so I started coming on Friday mornings. And it has really been one of the best groups I've ever joined in my life. And I met really the most amazing women, and now men, but at that point it was all women. And there was something about that group at that particular time. There was nothing fake, there was no BS. It was just people being really who they were. And I think Carol was such a reminder of what was important. And so I've kept going with the group, and I ran the Boston Marathon this year for my first marathon ever, maybe my last, but it really was because of Carol.
I've lived in Wellesley for over 20 years, and I've known many of these women for a long time, and I knew there was this group, but I was somewhat afraid to join because I'm not a strong runner. And then after the pandemic, some other friends encouraged me to join, and I've been coming ever since. I've been running with this group for about 2 years. It's a fabulous group that's super welcoming of all runners, slow, fast, short distance, long distance, and I think it's been great for my running. I've become a stronger runner, which is great, but I think the more important part are the friends that I've made, and I'm so grateful to Carol Chowie for starting this group, because I've met people that I never would have met before and formed some really great relationships. So I would encourage everyone to do it because it's really welcoming. And so we have a WhatsApp group, a WhatsApp chat that we always meet on Fridays at 8, but there are many other groups subgroups that will meet other times during the week.
Every Friday morning we call it the Friday Social Run because it's a wonderful, welcoming, supportive group of people. And one thing I really love about it is that it's people of all speeds and distances and experience of running, and it's just very welcoming of everyone. In fact, we decided that we're going to be a running and walking group because we have some members who now would prefer to walk, or some who are injured and have to walk, and so we just want it to be as welcoming as possible.
So I started because our daughters, my daughter and Carol's daughter, overlapped at school.
Right.
But what I love about this group is it's such a community. We all come in different highs and lows in our life, but on Friday mornings we run together and everything feels better. And I was just talking with some of them, and we all said, we leave this group feeling better than what we came for.
Right, definitely.
And so I would say to anybody, hey, if you want to be part of the community, all are welcome. We run for 3.1 miles, but then we stay for coffee for about an hour.
Right.
And I came to this group back in 2014. I was friends with Kate Mall, and she had invited me to join the group, and I've been running with them ever since. And it's such an incredible group of women.
Yeah.
And now men, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And so I think that from a motivation standpoint, this group has to be one of the most accepting, diverse, interesting, and everybody comes at it at a different point in their life, and so it's just that welcoming feeling, and it's an easy way to spend a Friday morning.
Right.
So,
awesome. Yeah.
and so for anyone who is on the fence, who isn't sure, doesn't run, everybody comes. There's all paces. I can promise people will find friends here and find it a good time on a Friday morning.
That's awesome. That's first dude.
So I lived in Natick for 20 years and moved to Wellesley about 3 years ago, and had a friend, Kathleen was my friend, and I knew she had this running group on Wednesday mornings at the Wellesley track. And I live near the Wellesley track, so I was running one morning and I saw her leaving the track, and she said, you should come. And at that point, I also wasn't working on Wednesdays, so I
so I started going. And then through that, I found out about the Friday morning running group, and then there's a Sunday morning running group. And it's so funny because when I lived in Natick, I would see people running, and I'd just say, well, even if they had this in Natick, I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to run as far as they're running. And then when I came on Friday and they did the turkey trot, and I could do a 3-mile run, it was just so great. I didn't realize there were people running in groups that ran of course, so many run so much further, but they do also 3 miles. And I think when you're running with a group, it's just so much more fun, and you do things other than just running. You might a bunch of us met for a race up in Wellesley this past weekend, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So my neighbor actually invited us to join, and I was thrilled. I found really quickly that met a lovely supportive group of people. I'm both a runner and a walker depending on my phase, so it's kind of all comers, but very, very friendly, supportive group, whether it's coming out for a workout or getting organized to go for a race. And great supportive running community. If you're on the fence, take the leap and check it out. It's a friendly crowd. You might be nervous, if you don't know anybody, but it's very quick. I mean, just the meet and greet in the morning. Usually there's somebody that's running your pace. If not, we all meet up afterwards, and really it's a job well done. So very, very welcoming crowd.
That's awesome.
But you're better than everyone else who didn't get out there this morning.
So I've been running a long time, but I started running with this group in 2016. I met Carol, and I met the group on that day because I used to work in Boston, and I was taking the train to Boston, and I was walking to the train, and I saw this group of women running, and it was my last day at that particular job, and I yelled out, "Hey, are you a running group?" And she screamed something. I couldn't understand her, and finally she said, "Starbucks, Friday, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., and be there." And so I came down, and she's like, "You came?" I'm like, "Of course I came." And that was my start with running, and it was through Carol. She was the one who got me to start with this group.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and I've been running with the group ever since. They've become really close friends. Carol became a very close friend as well, and it's just an all-encompassing group, right? And when I started with the group, I was recovering from an injury.
Oh, yeah.
So I was walking, running, running. And what's good about the group is you can run, you can walk, you can run, walk. There are people of all abilities, so it doesn't really matter, what your pace is, if you walk, if you want to run, if you want to jog. There'll be somebody here.
Yeah, somebody will match your pace.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love to hear that.
But the thing that keeps me going is I often hear Carol in my head. I'll tell one more story about Carol. I was running, it was a very hot day, and I was getting back from an injury, and I was running really slow, and I was struggling, and I was going up this tiny little incline, right? It felt like a huge hill. It was a tiny incline, and I was just like huffing and puffing, and this car comes by the other way, and a person rolls down the window and says, "Hey, you're breaking the speed limit, hold on!" And it was Carol.
Oh,
and then she said, "You're doing great. Keep it up. If you have to walk, you walk, but you're doing great."
Yeah.
And so I just keep hearing those little antidotes in my head from Carol when I know I'm having a tough day or whatnot. She would say, "Do the best you can and just keep going."
Yeah.
And I would say if there's anybody out there who thinks, "Oh, I can't keep up with the group," or I don't know, I'll feel awkward. We actually do intros if we see someone that's new to the group, so we introduce ourselves. You never remember people's name, but faces you remember.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we welcome them, right? We say this group is going to walk, or this group is going to, go 3 miles. This one's going to go a little longer,
right.
So we make them feel welcome, and we encourage them to come back, right? And oftentimes a lot of us will reach out and say, "Do you want to go for a walk or a run during the week?"
Yeah.
And so I would just say, if you're on the fence and you're worried about it or you feel awkward, please don't. Please come.
Yeah.
Carol would want you to come.